Part 45. Come on, join us. Please like and subscribe, then relax and enjoy.
This untiring search finally brought the officers who were detailed to concentrate all of their efforts day and night to the apprehension of Bonnie and Clyde to a spot on a gravel road in the state of Louisiana.
That fateful day, nosing over that hill, they came racing into sight, riding right up to a broken-down truck with one wheel on the ground, beside which stood Old Man Ivy, that stool pigeon, spotter, and rat, who last night had told Sheriff Jordan he'd be meeting them on this road on the morrow morning between 9 and 10. "Got a flat?" called Clyde as they stopped. "Yeah." "Have you found Henry?" called back Ivy. "Have you got a drink for me?" To the 6 laws hiding in the brush, this exchange was the definite spot. Then came the rumble of an approaching wood truck, and Clyde drove forward past Ivy's truck to move in behind to allow the approaching wood truck to pass.
That's him for sure, I'll guarantee you. Get ready now. That's him, fellas. If he reaches for it, let him have it.
2 rifle shots local Deputy Oakley fired at Clyde's head, and Clyde was dead on the spot. Bonnie screamed like a panther to the floorboard-sheeted pitch as Clyde's foot slipped off the clutch and the car began to creep towards the road's left side ditch. The posse's position as it looked from Bonnie's perspective. Bonnie ducked down, looked up towards Clyde, praying he was gonna move, hoping they were gonna ride to make yet another getaway, but she saw no response or movement from Clyde. Then the posse let the car have it.
Look out!
Bombarding it with volleys of fire from all of their rods, screaming like a panther, Bonnie's eyes were watching Clyde. As a bullet hit the side of her mouth, she felt another go into her chest and her pistol get ripped out of her hand. Bonnie realized this was the trail's end, their last ride. She resigned herself to capture, like Blanche, hoping perhaps like Buck, she'd get to a hospital and see her mama one last time. In the noise and through the gunsmoke of that deafening din, the car seemed to momentarily hover, and it started to smoke. Hinton and Alcorn ran out on the road, shooting at the car from behind. The view down the road in the direction of Sales. Moving through the brush, Hamer carefully approached the left side, watching eagle-eyed for any movement in the car. Gould, following, called out to Hamer, "Careful, Cap, they might be 'possuming." The officers had shoot-to-kill orders, and at this stage were not interested in assisting either Clyde or Bonnie, should they still be alive. An officer on the left side of the car fired into both Clyde and Bonnie to see if they were still alive. 7 small bullet wounds, inner of right knee, Clyde. 8 bullet wounds, striking almost in parallel line, left side, Bonnie. Doubled over, Bonnie was still moving and heaving, so an officer on the right side of the car fired gunshots into Bonnie's back. 3 parallelly striking right side of back. from base of neck to angular right scapula to side backbone. 1 striking midway back, breaking backbone. Then an officer on the left side of the car fired a single gunshot into the left side of Bonnie's head. Gunshot wound, edge of hair, about 1 1/2 inch above left eye. Hinton opened Bonnie's door. Bonnie was folded over, her head between her knees. Below her mangled right hand lay a Colt .45 automatic pistol, shot out of her hand. Hinton pulled Bonnie up, and she began slumping outwards towards him. She seemed to take a few breaths as he held her up. He pushed her back in and leaned her up against Clyde, and noticed her breathing, then suddenly died. Hamer remarked to the others, "I hate to bust the cap on a woman, especially when she was sitting down. However, if it wouldn't have been her, it would have been us." Hinton shot a roadside movie of Bonnie, his one-time wet dream, from Marco's Cafe, as she sat, riding side by side, propped up against Clyde, with her dead eyes looking out at him, while the other laws rifled through the tin.
The inevitable end. Retribution. Here is Clyde Barrow and Bonnie Parker, who died as they lived, by the gun. Bonnie is leaning against Clyde. Clyde was a master gunman. Seldom did anyone ever live when Clyde got the first shot. Clyde Barrow's mania, his guns, spiked at last by the law. 2 sawed-off shotguns, 2 machine rifles, 10 automatic pistols.
From there, in the company of a convoy of several dozen cars of Gawkers, Gauls, and Sim, they were towed into Arcadia for Coroner Dr. Wade and the rest of the admin. But not before they were first mobbed by the children of an elementary school that they passed along their way. The children swarmed the car. The teachers, a shock lesson in crime was good, did say. The children clambered on the running boards, poked their heads inside, kind of said hi and bye to Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie loved children so much she would have hugged each one, if only she were alive. From nearby Ruston rushed Undertaker Darby and fulfilled his promise to Bonnie and Clyde. He'd once by them been taken for a ride, and Bonnie had jokingly had him promise to embalm her when she died. Of a nude Bonnie, the photographer took booby shots. Why let it go to waste? The local newspapers plastered them on their very front page next day. Such was their $sign haste. Even Sheriff Smoot Schmid flew over by plane from Dallas Love Field, accompanied by his chief deputy, Bill Decker, too. Such a high-level VIP delegation, Bonnie and Clyde would be tickled pink if they'd knew. The governor of Louisiana weighed in with congratulations. To Sheriff Henderson Jordan he gave his salutations, as did J. Edgar Hoover, himself on high, for Bonnie and Clyde had really put the F in his B.I. The mood in Arcadia was festive on that 23rd day of May, after one of the most colorful and spectacular manhunts the nation had seen up to that day.
4 of the 6 officers who brought down Bonnie and Clyde. On the left, Deputy Sheriff Oakley. Next, Sheriff Jordan, in whose parish in Louisiana Bonnie and Clyde met their death. Next to Sheriff Jordan is Deputy Sheriff Bob Alcorn of Dallas County, Texas, upon whose shoulders rested the tremendous responsibility of positively identifying Bonnie and Clyde as they came down the road. He was the only man in the party who knew Barrow and Bonnie on sight. Not a gun could be fired until he gave the word. At the right is Alcorn's partner, Deputy Sheriff Ted Hinton of Dallas County, Texas, who with Alcorn trailed Bonnie and Clyde for many months. This is a big day in the life of this sleepy little town of Arcadia, Louisiana. The crowd in front of the small furniture and undertaking company, where Clyde and Bonnie's bodies lay, milled and grew to great proportions with each succeeding hour.
That night a weeping father and a mournful brother left that Circus Maximus behind, taking with them one a son, the other his little sis, in 2 undertakers' ambulances, racing through the night back to Dallas for separate burials in kind. Prentice Oakley's report of death, witnessed by Alcorn, paused to read. Bonnie Parker's death certificate, pause to read. Bonnie Parker's post-mortem fingerprint card, pause to read. First page of the coroner's notes on Bonnie, pause to read. First page, more legibly written out, pause to read. Second page of the coroner's notes on Bonnie, pause to read. Second page, more legibly written out, pause to read. Third page of the coroner's notes on Bonnie, pause to read. Third page, more legibly written out, pause to read. Curiously, the coroner, Dr. Wade, overlooked itemizing Bonnie's mangled right hand. First page of the coroner's notes on Clyde, pause to read. First page, more legibly written out, pause to read. Second page of the coroner's notes on Clyde, pause to read. Second page, more legibly written out, pause to read. The spatter of bullet holes on Bonnie's side of the windshield are almost certainly exit holes from the barrage fired by the posse at the car. They accumulated on Bonnie's side because of the angle of fire from the posse. Though even if they were entry holes from bullets fired into the windshield from the front of the car, the projectiles making these holes passed too high to have hit Bonnie, who had ducked right down to try to shield herself from the barrage. End of Part 45. Come on, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. The next part is coming soon.